Donald Trump's international economic policy, such as it is having a deleterious effect on the U.S. economy and the pocketbooks and wallets of Americans. We break it all down for you on Legal AF's Global AF. You can find it only on the Midas Touch Network. And here's a taste. What I've half joked in hot takes, but almost crying during it, is that Donald Trump should be complimented for uniting the world against the United States. I've never seen in 50 days, right? So, I mean, and people that try, I just saw a good article, I think it was in the Times, might have been somewhere else, that said MAGA and Republicans suffer from Trump derangement syndrome. Also, they keep claiming the Democrats do. They do. Yeah. And because they have bought into his destructive principles. This is not we're not watching a Trump doctrine in foreign policy. What's the doctrine? A totally erratic, mentally unstable president. That's the doctrine. Tariffs, no tariffs, maybe tariffs. I don't know about tariffs. Yeah. Release the hostages or I'll bomb you. Forget it. I'm not going to bomb you.
I'll give you till April the 2nd because, I announced it, but I've realized that all these car companies are going crazy. So I'll reverse it for about a month.
And cars will probably carve you out. And then, and so people are like, I know friends like over a beer will say stupid things like, well, it's good. It keeps our adversaries off their toes. You never know what Trump. I said, that's not an F in foreign policy. No. And all that's doing is tanking Wall Street because the last thing they like is an erratic fiscal and economic and monetary policy. Right. Ben on our on Legal AF this weekend, he's got a theory. I didn't totally agree with him, but he has a theory that he's going to try now to take over the Federal Reserve and Jay Powell. And I said, I can tell you from what my knowledge is of people that are inside that are former Wall Street people, the Treasury Secretary and the Commerce Secretary in particular, they've talked him out of doing that because he would immediately send the economy into an irretrievable tailspin. So he hasn't done that. That's why every time you see an executive order about, I'm going to put every agency under my greasy thumb, not the Fed. It's like a foot, like an asterisk.
And he admitted this week that there might be a recession. I mean, like he's finally said right. Initially, he was like, "Oh, there'll be a period of instability," and now he's saying, "Well," because he was asked, there could be a recession, and you can only blame Joe Biden for so long.
He pushed the American economy off the cliff in 50 days. When what he inherited from, Biden inherited from Donald Trump a moribund economy, actually, whose heart had stopped and needed to be defibrillated with several $1 trillion of a stimulus package, or you and I wouldn't be here today.
Right.
Okay. That's what Joe Biden did. Now, there were a couple of things that he couldn't control. One was growth was great, job creation amazing, price increase going to go along with fast job creation. It's just the way it goes in economics 101. And he couldn't kind of get tamped down all in a 4-year period. And he got hammered for it. The Democrats got hammered for it. But there was no economy to speak of when Joe Biden came in. By contrast, when Trump got elected, the economy roaring, job creation roaring, stock market roaring, inflation heading down, right? Immigration kind of under control and even at the border.
But isn't this the same as when Trump got in the first time and took the credit for Barack Obama's economy?
Absolutely.
Because remember, in Obama's first term, that was when we had the subprime mortgage crash. But then he turned it around and everything was going in the right direction. In his second term, then Trump takes it over and the trajectory did not change.
Obama, the Democrats don't get enough credit for what they inherit. When Obama came in, we had the banking crisis. If we didn't bail out the banks with Obama, that economy would have, if they had spent the trillions of dollars to bail out banks, our economy as we know it would have ended as Obama came into office. That was the big fight with, what was the comment by the late John McCain? The fundamentals of our economy are strong. Like, what are you talking about? The thing's about to go off the cliff. So he fixes it, gets it going, gets it roaring. Trump comes in, kills it with COVID. Biden comes in, gets it roaring. 50 days,
Trump comes in.
It's an art. It is. Yeah. I'll give him credit. It is an evil art, a talent to be able to kill an American economy and take America out of the economy. Did you hear that they're planning on cooking the books with the commerce statistics?
Yes.
They're going to remove the U.S. government contribution to GDP, right? Which is the thing that helps keep it humming. We're going to remove it so they can blame the consumer and not blame the tariffs.
There's a great analogy for this, and I was reading about cruise ships in Miami, and apparently when they're traveling, they kick up sediment.
Oh yeah,
on the banks, and it's causing an ecological problem, massive ecological problem to local wildlife and fish. And so, the department that tests it, they're putting out these warnings and saying, what are we going to do about it? And so the Trump administration has come in, and guess what their solution is? They're going to stop testing.
Yeah, I was going to say, eliminate the regulator.
They're going to stop testing. Right. And I was thinking, this is a perfect analogy for how this Trump regime is operating. Right. It's the same as in COVID, where he was like, if we test less, we'll get fewer cases.
It's like the old mentality. It's the old vaudeville joke. Doctor, when I do this, it hurts. Don't do that.
Don't do it. Exactly. So that is what we're dealing with. It's a bait and switch. It really is. Oh, yeah. It's a confidence trick. And he's going to do it not just for cruise ships in Miami, but he's going to do it around every single department. I mean, we've even heard it with this measles outbreak, and RFK Jr., I heard him yesterday talking about stuff.
Saying we're
going to be transparent about it.
Just take supplements. You'll be fine. You don't need
vitamin A. That's the solution to this.
That's all you need.
I want to talk about the transatlantic alliance, because this is what was put in place after the Second World War that would keep the world safe, right? It is there for a reason, that the US and Europe are not allowed to fall out. Mm-hmm. The transatlantic alliance is there to protect from there being a third world war.
We didn't accidentally. Article 5 of the NATO alliance wasn't a typo.
No,
it was purposeful.
Right. So you're not allowed to breach that contract. That is the deal. But of course, Donald Trump doesn't know what it is, doesn't have any point of reference, has no interest. And so he will break these conventions without even realizing. And now, because there are no adults in the room, there's no one to say, actually, Donald, you can't do that, so please don't announce it. This type of administration is a backtrack administration, because he's just going to say, he's in a monologue, he's just going to kind of spew out. And meanwhile, Europe is having to reposition all of its military. And so the other thing about the transatlantic alliance is that, aside from Ukraine getting rid of its nuclear weapons, because part of this agreement was America would always protect them, is that so much of the UK and Europe's military capability is counting on American military equipment, on planes, for example. And even the software in the planes. So if the US sells planes to Europe, the Europeans are flying these planes, let's hypothetically call them F-16s, right? Mm-hmm. But the software that is in them that enables them to do their reconnaissance and for them to store that data still belongs to the United States. I don't know if you know this. It's kind of interesting.
No, I'm not sure I knew that. Mm-hmm.
And so this breakdown of the alliance means that they're going to be flying planes and they're not going to be able to access the data.
No tech support.
Right. No tech support. And so this is the stuff that we don't really get to hear about. But this is the reality of this alliance, is that without America, Europe does not have not just the equipment, but also the technical know-how. The US is so advanced with this stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it is so integrated into the European systems. Or the European systems are so integrated with American systems that without each other, the Europeans are going to have to basically start over.
And the flip side of that is, if we don't have their intelligence gathering, if we don't have the Five Eyes and things like that, that help keep America and American interests safe. I mean, for instance, Trump is in the process, because it's just a cost-cutting thing for him, in closing consulate and after consulate after consulate around the world and diplomatic missions. And you know who's going to end up, I think, in the next week or two, having more consulates and diplomatic missions around the world than America? China. And their police state, they have police stations police stations in, like, they have one in America. They had one in Chinatown at one point until they got busted by the Biden feds. So China is stepping in to the breach created by the withdrawal of America in the last 50 days, as they have. They are supporting the Caribbean, Africa, parts of Asia. China is, and we're not.
This is the USAID thing, where Trump didn't realize that USAID didn't stand for aid, that it's actually international development. So he probably read it as US aid. I don't want to give aid or foreign aid, but international development, that bit of it is the bit that China is going to step in and infiltrate.
Oh, 1,000%. Look, there's a reason US aid was a part of the State Department. It was an arm of diplomacy, all right? And behind every contract and every dollar spent abroad for humanitarian purposes, not just for altruism, it was to turn people towards the West and away from the East.
Yes.
And right? Okay.
Well, for kids to grow up thinking that America has helped them.
Absolutely.
I saw that picture of those kids with the backpacks. Did you see that? 3 backpacks that said a gift from USAID on their little school bags.
Right.
And we're educating these children.
Yeah, I just want to finish the one point about the aid. And behind every dollar, that $50-60 billion, not the $2 billion that's at stake in that one lawsuit, because that's for contractor payments or for services rendered and goods already supplied. I'm talking about the overall package. Behind that is primarily U.S. jobs and U.S. companies supplying that aid. So it wasn't just, it was also an extension of commerce.
Yes.
Right? And promotion. It's not just desalination plant.
Yeah. When we send food, where's that food going to come from?
Right. It comes from the farm belt of America.
That's right.
Yeah. So it is a...
well, it's a false economy to shut it down, because you lose influence on the world stage.
Absolutely. Well,
he doesn't get that.
No, he pulled the oars in. It's all about America first. He doesn't realize literally we can't go it alone. What did Tom Friedman say in his book 20 years ago? The Earth is increasingly flat, hot, and small. I forget. I'm butchering it, but meaning you can't. I mean, I saw a comment. You literally, no one country can build the iPhone. Even America can't build the iPhone alone with all the constituent parts of it that come from the global economy and the global supply chain. Welcome back. That was Anthony Davis and me, Michael Popok, on Global AF. We took the Legal AF brand and expanded it with Anthony, who's, of course, been a commentator overseas in the UK on the BBC. And me, Michael Popok, at one point in my life, I had a global remit running a large part of the real estate of a financial services firm and their global operations on the law side. So we put our heads together and we talk about things only on Global AF. Thanks for joining us. Hit the free subscribe button here and follow Anthony Davis and Michael Popok on the Midas Touch Network. In collaboration with the Midas Touch Network, we just launched the Legal AF YouTube channel. Help us build this pro-democracy channel where I'll be curating the top stories, the intersection of law and politics. Go to YouTube now and free subscribe at Legal AF MTN. That's at Legal AF MTN.